of building 3 towers seems much more expensive. And, you know, trust me, it's frustrating, especially on smaller maps, when Niles just go around and they just don't let you do anything because they just keep going for your peasants with Dryades and heroes, and anything that gets slow or bolted gets staffed, and slow gets abolished. I mean, it's just extremely annoying. Anyway, let's talk about Todd's unit choice. As you can see, he did get sorceresses. He gets about 2 sorceresses, 2 priests, breakers, rifles, and he still has some footmen. People seem kind of unsure about, you know, are rifles better than breakers, or are morts better? You know, how do you know when to get breakers and mortars versus rifles and breakers, or, you know, anything else? There's kind of a hierarchy of damage against bears and other Night Elf units. That is, breakers have more HP and more armor than rifles, yet they do less damage. And rifles have more armor and HP than mortars, yet they do more damage. So as far as them tanking, it kind of goes breakers, rifles, mortars. But as far as damage, it goes completely in reverse. It goes mortars, rifles, breakers. So if you have a good enough front line, it's time to consider making some rifles and some mortars. If you have a very good front line, then you can just make mortars to help take out Dryades and bears. Mortars have the same attack speed as rifles, and they do full damage to bears. They have heavy armor, so they take the same amount of damage from all damage types except for magic damage. So it's not like mortars have slower attack speed, so they only seem to do more damage. They actually have the exact same attack speed as rifles. As you can see, Todd is pushing with breakers, with his entire army. It's right before night, so he knows Hot has probably used at most, if not all, of his moon wells. He knows he can't have too many bears, so he can't just rejuve everything. But look what happens to Todd. He goes to push, and the Night Elf just goes straight for his peasants. You can hack at Night Elf buildings all you want, but if they kill all your peasants, they're going to be doing a heck of a lot more damage to you than you are to them. So that's why I go with the 3 towers thing, so that I can actually push a Night Elf that's massing Dryades without having to worry about that. And as you can see, Todd in his base is building a farm to block it so that the Night Elf can't come with his heroes, at least, into his peasant line. He can put a couple of Dryades right behind the farm and still just shoot at the Dryades. And this, once again, I'm just showing the frustration of facing the mass Dryades to the late bear strategy, is the fact that both of his heroes are moving so fast, just moving around, and with magic immunity, he can't really be slowed down. And so Todd's just losing units and can't really go to creep or hit. Let's see. As you can see, just more staffing. The Hot has bears is making bears now, and I'm sure Todd knows. Todd doesn't think he's massing Dryades. Some of you may be wondering, why didn't Todd just expand? Well, for one, I don't think Todd thought that he wouldn't be able to do that push at the day, which he probably planned on a little bit mid into the game. And second, it's a lot harder than it seems to beat Night Elf late game. I mean, you can have 90 food of rifles, breakers, casters, mortars, and you'll probably lose to 70 food of bears and Dryades. I mean, just look at the stats. Okay, does he? Oh, he doesn't have a bear in master form. I guess I'll talk about that later, so I can whine more about Night Elf. Todd goes to creep again. He can't go and push again because it's nighttime, and if you push during night, not only can you not see very far, but his moon wells are regenerating, so he can heal stuff pretty easily without having to worry about not having any moon juice. Todd has level 2 Forked Lightning now, which is pretty helpful against bears. SK Hot is also creeping, and he's got a level 3 DH. Todd is building some mortars now, like I talked about, with the hierarchy of damage. Mortars do the most damage out of breakers, rifles, and mortars. And now that Todd has a pretty thick army of breakers and rifles. He can go for mortars now too. As you can see, Todd just bought 2 heal scrolls. That helps a lot, not only against forked lightning, but just the spread of damage from Dryads and bears. No real point in getting a scroll of protection when they have that many Dryads. It's just going to get dispelled. And, you know, people were like, well, then it wastes their mana. Not when they have that many Dryads. And besides, I don't think I really want to pay 150 gold just to get rid of Dryad mana. Looks like Todd's planning on pushing again because it's almost daytime, meaning that Hot will not have regenerating moon juice, so he brings all of his militia. Always keep your militia hockey, in my opinion. Whether it's a battle near your base or you plan to push them, unless you're facing something like a lot of AoE, like level 3 or higher TC or something, it's always important, in my opinion, to bring your militia if you're trying to push. Because they, you know, even if they aren't doing much damage, they just stand as a meat shield, so that in this situation, for example, your mortars can keep hacking stuff down. Once again, Todd goes for the base, and what happens? Hot goes for the peasants. Kind of frustrating situation, but Todd doesn't seem so damaged this time because of his farm block. I think it's not a bad idea. You can just do the farm block, but I'm down for the towers thing as well. So Todd's pushing. He's taking out he took out the Moonwell first because taking out a Moonwell cuts down on food and disallows him some moon juice. Then he went for the Ancient of War because that does some damage to him. It's like a bear. This is a difficult battle for Todd. I mean, let's just take a look. For people who think that I know a lot of humans that try to just avoid the night off the entire game while they try and build up 80 food of rifles, breakers, casters, mortars, stuff like that, and think that they can beat bears, and they wonder why they don't. If you take a look at bears do 20 with no upgrades, do 29 through 44 damage with 960 HP and 3 armor, versus riflemen, which have 505 life, 18 through 24 damage and 0 armor. Now, I don't care how many riflemen you have, unless it's like 100 versus 40 food of bears. They're going to cut you down a lot faster, especially with staff and roar and rejuve. I mean, they're able to save units a lot easier. So you have to really work on your timing against night elves. You have to try and hit them before they get too many bears, while your army can still overpower theirs, which is often right at tier 2 or first day or even second day like Todd tried. So here you go. Todd is heading towards the middle again. Looks like he might be trying to push Hot again after he's healed up a bit and got some more units. He runs into Hot creeping, and he's going to steal that creep in a second. The game is pretty much over at this point. As you can see, Hot has like 6, 7 bears, and there's no way Todd can beat that with his current army. And so that's a good game. And once again, Todd brought his militia. Bring it to any battle, especially against Night Elf when they go DH. Not when they go Panda, trust me. X-nay on the Alicia May when they go Panda. So Todd says good game and is gone. So what could Todd have done to win this game? It's hard to say. I think perhaps after he saw the cross map spawn, he could have skipped the blacksmith at tier 2, double sanked, threw a lumber mill up and grabbed an expo instead, and focused on breakers, mortars, casters, and maybe later on things like rifles or maybe even knights and griffins, depending on how the game went. I think when you're a cross map like that, you should consider trying to grab an expo instead of trying to go for a later push. But ultimately, I think Todd did a pretty good job too. I think if he had had that farm block earlier to where Hot couldn't access his peasants, for example, had he scouted the prolonged tier 2 of Hot, and he had built that farm there so that Hot couldn't access his peasants, his first push probably could have worked. He probably could have won the game there, perhaps. It's hard to say. So I guess it's the main thing you can learn like this. Play like Todd, except scout more. Scouting is always important in any game. I scout constantly throughout any game. As far as I can see it, very simply put, when you don't scout, you're giving your opponent an opportunity to surprise you. And whenever you give your opponent an opportunity to surprise you, you might as well ask him to destroy you. So that ends my audio for now. Thank you very much for listening. And any comments, criticisms, hate mail you guys leave, I will read. And so please do leave comments. It means a lot to me, etc., etc. All right, take care, guys. Bye.